same date had Tebow emailing John Crabb that the elector case was approved. Crabb responded, quote, "Thanks a lot. Let's talk next week," end quote. Between March 22nd and April 13th, other versions of the document opening the investigation existed because a ninth email shows that the FBI General Counsel Office made edits on March 25th. Was Trump still removed as an investigative subject? If so, which Justice Department FBI officials other than Jack Smith later added him for prosecution? I expect the production of all records on this matter to better understand the full fact pattern and whether other records exist. Notably, approval of these documents was also given by Richard Pilger. This committee has written about Pilger undermining the Justice Department's efforts during the 2020 election for partisan purposes. These emails and documents substantiate my July 2022 letter, which the FBI ignored. And I hope you, when you get there, won't ignore my letters. Partisan FBI agents and DOJ officials tried and ultimately succeeded in launching a full field criminal investigation and prosecution of the President of the United States. Justice Department and FBI leadership acted in concert to further a political scheme to take down Trump, just like they did with Crossfire Hurricane. They have yet to learn a lesson, and I hope you'll learn that lesson for them or teach that lesson. And their conduct, yet again, seriously eroded integrity of this once storied institution. As I've said before, if a politically charged investigation is to be open, it must be done the right way. And that didn't happen here. Mr. Patel, in my time, I've never seen our law enforcement intelligence community institutions so badly infected with political decision making. And I say intelligence community because you know what happened when 55 people, former or present intelligence agencies, signed a letter in 2020 that the laptop was a Russian hoax, as an example. So all of this is these institutions breaking faith with we the people. Mr. Patel, you must be fair, you must be consistent, but you must be aggressive. Your actions must be based on accountability. And transparency brings accountability. Should you do so, you'll have my support. And remember, either you're going to run your agency or the agency's going to run you.
Dropping bombs in
and the
here.
agency
I can't believe this is happening.
Ended up running
insane.
Director Wray and probably people before him. Without objection, I'm going to put in this letter in the record, and this letter is sent to Director Wray December the 9th last year, calling for him and his deputies to step down, and it's titled, quote unquote, failures. Now I turn to Ranking Member Durbin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your commitment to the Judiciary Committee's longstanding bipartisan practice of vetting presidential nominees. A little history. The FBI dates back to the start of the last century, 1908, when then Attorney General Charles Bonaparte organized a special agent force. J. Edgar Hoover became director of the FBI in 1924 and led the Bureau for 48 years until his death in 1972. He is credited with professionalizing the Bureau and developing its investigative ability. However, with little or no oversight, Hoover also used the Bureau's investigative powers improperly. He infamously directed the FBI to spy on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Thurgood Marshall, and other civil rights leaders of the day. In 1975, the United States Senate created Frank Church's committee, and they disclosed widespread abuses by the FBI and other U.S. intelligence agencies. The Church Committee concluded these agencies had engaged in illegal surveillance, and as a result, quote, groups and individuals have been assaulted, repressed, harassed, and disrupted because of their political views, social beliefs, and their lifestyles. And quote, the intelligence agencies have served the political and personal objectives of presidents and other high officials. The Hoover era of the FBI, the Watergate scandal, and the findings of the Church Committee highlighted the risk of political interference in FBI investigations and led to significant, important reform. In 1976, Congress passed a law that limits the FBI director to a single term of 10 years, which was intended to insulate that position from political influence. And critically, we made the FBI director's appointment subject to the advice and consent of the Senate. That's why we're here today. Since 1935, the motto of the FBI has been fidelity, bravery, integrity. These qualities represent the Bureau's core values and the high standards that are expected of all of its employees, including the director of the FBI. After meeting with Mr. Patel and reviewing his record, I do not believe you meet this standard. Mr. Patel has neither the experience, the temperament, nor the judgment to lead an agency of 38,000 agencies and 400 field offices around the globe. During the time I've served on this committee,
Find the lowest priced health plans at healthforcalifornia.com. Get a quote in 30 seconds. Find top carriers like Anthem, Kaiser, Blue Shield, and more. Lowest prices, simple process.
President Biden and former Attorney General Garland weaponized the FBI. Let's look at the record. President Biden kept the FBI director, a lifelong Republican who'd been appointed by President Trump. Contrast that with President Trump. Fired his first FBI director, James Comey, forced out his second FBI director, Chris Wray, for being insufficiently loyal. With Mr. Patel, however, obviously the president has found a loyalist. Mr. Patel's loyalty includes touting conspiracy theories that threatened efforts at President Trump's enemies. How do we know Mr. Patel's theories, his beliefs, what motivates him, what he really believes? He wrote it in a book. This book, Government Gangsters, I urge all of you to read before you cast a vote for this gentleman. Mr. Patel has published at the back of this book a list of 60 people whom he calls, quote, members of the deep state. 60.
Yeah. Deep state.
This list includes many distinguished public servants who've dedicated their lives to our nation.
Deep state.
Among them are Democrats and Republicans, including former Trump administration officials like the former Secretary of Defense Esper.
Mark Esper.
Then there is Mr. Patel's plan to,
They're
quote,
dropping bombs
and I
in
quote
here. I don't
him,
get it.
shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one, reopen it the next day as a museum of the deep state. And he has said, quote, we're going to come after people in the media. We're going to come after you. Whether it's criminally or civilly, we're putting you all on notice. Does this sound like the kind of nonpartisan law enforcement professional who should lead the FBI? No, not to me. This is someone who's left behind a trail of grievances throughout his life, lashing out at anyone who disrespects him or doesn't agree with him. Don't take it from me. Listen to these Republicans who worked with him during the Trump's first administration. Attorney General Bill Barr, and I quote, I categorically oppose making Patel deputy FBI director. I said it would happen over my dead body. Patel had virtually no experience that would qualify him to serve at the highest level of the world's preeminent law enforcement agency. National
Is this live? I don't think this is live. Maybe actually, this is the second one. Second place I've seen it.
Iran and 5 family members of his own family. President Biden did that, Senator.
Welcome, Mr. Patel. Do you believe America is an exceptional nation?
It's the greatest nation.
Your family went through a lot to get here,
They sure did.
and your life story is, I think, a great example of people
this is
pursuing the
old.
American dream. Do you believe a large part of what makes America an exceptional nation is the rule of law?
It is one of the fundamental precepts that determines that.
And why is that?
Because without a singular application of a rule of law, we go back to the Uganda that my father fled in Idi Amin.
I think this is old.
I believe that the two most important institutions in America to preserve and protect and enforce the rule of law are the FBI.
I'm in the stream. I got clickbaited. You gotta admit your losses. I saw the live. I thought this was happening live. But these stupid pages run reruns and they act like it's live. So I keep thinking it's live. But no, we're gonna go back to protests.
Are you in the dark about naloxone?
Back to protests.
Let's turn on the light. If this fire
What the hell? That's different, bro. Associated Press. Any lives? No. What's going on right now? I want to find something interesting to get into, but nothing much. Some Indian news? You guys want some Indian news? Let's do the protests, since there's always protests. Let's do the protests. Let's find the best one. Let's find some interesting speakers, some funny people in the crowd. Live ended. Coverage begins shortly. Live ended. What's going on? Alright, let's look up Sacramento. I know there's a protest there. To protest. I was watching earlier, it was funny. Does it have volume?
Just great!